So basically, yeah, I'm Alexander Tudenko. I work with the head of the Neurosciences and Management Lab here at IBS Ranepa in the Institute of Business Studies, IBS Moscow. Physically, our lab is situated on the Prichistinka, but now I'm here on the main campus in Yugo-Zapad. Okay, so our today's topic is emotions, neuromarketing, and AI, which basically correlates with research, with one of lines of research which we do in our laboratory, which is Neurosciences and Management Laboratory, right? So we not only about marketing, but also about all sorts of things connected with management, like neuroscience of teams, for example, neuroscience of leadership, all things like that, programming, and so on. So basically, the first question to my dear physical audience, and there is a catch here, actually. I understand that we actually have huge risks here, because the main risk is as follows. My question is, do you actually have some pets? If you remember last time when your cat felt some emotion, expressed some emotion to you?
So I guess that yesterday she was happy when I came home and gave her food.
Okay. And how she has expressed that happiness?
By pouring.
Okay.
And so she touches like my legs.
Yeah.
Licking
you in the face.
Yes, licking in the face.
Yes.
Nice. So how you usually, by the way, how you usually express happiness? Are you pouring and licking somebody's face?
No, I guess I'm smiling.
Yeah, you're just smiling, but your cat is not smiling.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes cats smile.
But only in Lewis Carroll books, you know, doesn't count.
So I heard a stereotype that cats express like a smile when she blinks.
Blinks.
Wings.
Okay.
Wings or blinks, yes.
Yeah, wings. Okay. Okay. So I have the same question to the audience. I mean, to the online audience. Maybe somebody could raise a hand and tell about feelings, about emotions which your pet had expressed just recently.
Online audience, please join us.
Ладно, можно и...
No.
I have a dog. I have a dog.
Екатерина.
I think
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. So I have a dog, and just recently, because she was very, very willing to go outside, she, I think, expressed sadness in the way that she started howling, I guess. Like she's making sounds.
Okay.
And this way I understood she was sad and desperate, I would say, because she wanted to go outside.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I want to say actually that, well, that's quite interesting reflections on behavior of your pets, but the main point, I will have several points throughout my lecture, but the first point which I want to deliver to you is that pets actually do not feel emotions. Pets do not feel emotions at all. Of course, they can have some perception. Of course, they are using some expressions to communicate something. But of course, pets are not capable of feeling happiness, sadness, joy, and even more complex emotions such as, for example, awe or maybe shame or whatever. So basically, what is actually emotion? The matter is, so actually I've stolen this opening hook from the book, which I like very much, and I recommend you to read that book, which is called The History of Emotions by Becher, where this idea is expressed in more details, and maybe this idea is expressed more, is exemplified in many examples throughout the history, from ancient Greeks to modern days. So basically, the very word emotion was created, was invented just several 100 years ago, right? So Descartes was one of the first researchers to use that word. And initially, emotion, right? So emotion, you can actually feel that emotion is something which is very similar to motion, right? So emotion meant physical movement of some atoms, not in common, not in modern physical sense, atoms, but some things, some particles which are interacting with your body, and then your brain understands that there is this interaction, and when the brain understands that this interaction actually happens, then actually you have this emotion. So emotion stems from motion. But after that, the concept of emotion changed several times, and every time it was not because society learned something new about how, for example, human bodies are working, but in many cases that was connected with the change of the whole social body, actually, with the change of the workings of the whole social body, right? So when actually social organism has changed, then the concept of emotions has changed with it. So basically, of course, pets, animals do not have any kind of social life which is similar to human social life. In that sense, they of course do not have that emotions like sadness or happiness or whatever, because these things are very complex, and these things are connected with our culture. So the main idea, which actually I like books which have some bold ideas. And the main idea of this Becher book and many other books, actually, because this is already stabilized field, which is called history of emotions. So the main point of that field, which is called history of emotions, is that emotions is some combination of social and biological, and basically different societies across different geographies and different times have different emotions, and they are built around different emotions. And we are being part of, well, so to speak, capitalistic, still global society. We think that, for example, we can actually trace it even when we are looking at how we use words. So when we speak about emotions, mostly the first word which comes into mind is joy, because we live in capitalistic society, because you have to feel joy, right? Because you have to be happy. This is the essence of your life. Be happy or die. If you are not happy, we will make some medications. We will create some special diseases, which basically means that you're not happy. We will give you those medications, drugs.
Don't be so cynical. Don't be so cynical.
Okay.
Do you dare say that before the capitalist formation, emotions didn't exist in this
No,
sense?
it existed. It of course existed. But I say that only in capitalistic formation, and I would say that only in modern capitalistic formation, emotion of joy is so important because everything
Almost
is built
mandatory.
around, yeah, it's mandatory. You have to feel joy. And if you don't feel joy, then something is wrong with you. You know, this is not right. We will cure you. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, but there are different societies, other societies. For example, in Japan, in ancient Japan, and even in modern Japan, emotion of shame, which is basically social emotion, more social emotion, because shame is something which you feel to your social, to people around you, right? Or you feel that they are feeling this to you. So shame was important thing for Japanese society. For society which was French society of times of Descartes, emotion of hour was important. Then societies like, for example, societies like Soviet Union, love to your motherland. That was very important thing, which was more important than joy, for example, right?
Oh,
And
patriotism.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but again,
patriotism.
yeah. But again, do I get it right that you call patriotism emotion? This is not why. Why? How we can actually distinguish these two things? So basically, the main idea is that there is certain part of social in what we call emotions, and when we are ascribing to pets, for example, emotions, we are just like projecting ourselves to pets. Like they are like us,
Making them more understandable.
Maybe we are making them more understandable. Maybe some other reasons, but yeah, we are ascribing that. But we're not only ascribing that to pets. We also can ascribe that to people of different cultures, or people of different geographies. It's very interesting to read, for example, Three Musketeers, or unbelievable. And so we have, take your seats, please. So we have our auditorium just increased by 100 persons just right now. In economy, we call it low base effect. So basically, yeah. Okay. Different societies, different times, different emotional regimes, and this is the main point of my first lecture. This is the first point of first part. This is main point of the first part of my lecture. Now, another thing which I want to say that emotions do not only have social thing, they also have a biological part. Emotions somehow important for us as biological entities. They allowed us to survive through times, but of course, it's not emotions itself which us to survive, but certain neurobiological processes. And these processes are very important for decision making, because maybe our pets are not feeling emotions, but I think that our pets do take decisions. And emotions for actually special neurobiological processes which we usually connect to this word emotions. These processes are very important in decision making. And basically, well, first of all, this is interesting and somewhat new actually topic, but at least we can say now that there is that emotions are important to show you two things in decision making. First of all, the importance of the stimulus, and the second is balance of the stimulus. So is it big or small? Is it positive or negative, right? And basically, if you would look at yourself, look at how you are making decisions, you would say, you would notice that actually feelings, emotions, especially categorized into these two dimensions, play a very important part. First of all, you have to understand how big is danger or some value. And the second, you have to understand whether it is dangerous or valuable or whatever, right? And depending on that, you would track differently. The same thing when, for example, people are yelling at each other when they are team working, for example. So why they are yelling to each other? This is negative emotion. This is negative expression, the expression of some
underlying
so
feeling.
to speak, yeah, some negative feeling, right? So why they have this negative feeling and why they are so expressive about that feeling? Because they believe that there is something very important, and this important is negative, and they have to express it to their partners, right? Yeah. And sometimes when the level of expression does not meet our expectations as to does not meet our expectations of importance of the stimulus, we say that this person, for example, could have like problems with anger management or whatever, right? So you're expressing these things wrongly, not as it was expected. But still, emotions do have these two layers, and also it has a lot of different names: feelings, senses, affects, passions, sentiments. And I strongly recommend you to read Baker's book, because he speaks about all these things. He speaks about passions in Plato or Aristotelian works. Then he transgresses to other authors, up to Hume, Brown, Descartes, Darwin, which already used the word emotion in that initial sense. And of course, he speaks about James Lange theory, which actually reverted the theory which was used today. But still, now the second idea which I want to deliver is that basically neuromarketing is engineering of senses, is engineering of this complex thing. Just as society, which imposes specific emotional regime to its members, like society says you when you have to feel something. By the way, Netflix aired Shogun TV series, and that's quite funny to observe how a man from other culture is put into Japanese culture, and this society tries to shape what this guy have to feel about different things, and how he actually fights against that. Because I'm an Englishman, I'm this thing, and you are Japanese, you are so complex, and you always feel shame and all these things like that. And this is how actually it works. So this society tries to impose specific emotional regime on this guy, like on every other member, and this emotional regime requires some labor, some effort, in feeling those emotions. So this is how actually society is interacting with biology, with the body, through these prescribings. And basically, when we speak about brands, when we speak about corporations, ultimately corporations, this is the highest dream, to impose their own emotional regime on their clients. We want you to feel some specific things about our product. Why? Because feelings are very important in decision making, and we are interested only in one decision. You have to buy our product, right?
Buy.
Yeah, yeah, and so basically, in that sense, every corporation wants to be something like society ultimately. Of course, if you're a small startup, you could not dream so high, right? But but still you could at least try to, you may try to, like, be a part of other emotional regime, but be a part of other trend, whatever.
Pick up some other trend.
Yeah, pick up some other trend, right, and leverage on that. Yeah, and basically neuromarketing is a set of practices, engineering practices, scientific practices, which corporations do use to impose that emotional regimes. So yeah, neuromarketing is research and engineering of consumer behavior with tools and methodology of neuro and cognitive sciences. And yeah, what is actually, so basically these are just neuro and cognitive sciences, but applied to this field, to this practice. So basically, what is important in neuro and cognitive sciences? What is the main point of every scientific research? It's actually finding some persuasive contrast, right? So we, in terms of neuromarketing, that means that we've created this version of the product and this version of the product. We demonstrated that to 100 participants, we measured something. Then we demonstrated that to other 100 of participants, we measured something. Then we compared that. We maybe built pictures like that. And you see that, well, the response, some neurobiological response from this stimulus is lower, and from this stimulus and it's higher. Then actually, we conclude that this thing is more efficient in inducing joy or whatever than the other.
More sellable.
Yeah, well, ultimately, this is more sellable, of course. But of course, not all questions are. Not all things are questioned this direct way in neuromarketing, right? So maybe we want to be sure that this kind of stimulus is inducing less cognitive load or more cognitive load if we need cognitive load at that point, or maybe that makes more positive, the positive in terms of balance, the response which is more positive in terms of balance, and so on. I will speak about neuromarketing on several few slides. So to better understand what I'm talking about, I have to give you two important things, two important schemes. The first scheme is three-layer structure 1. So many years of communicating to students led me to the idea that actually that's a very unintuitive scheme. So basically, people usually are using names, like for example emotions, and they believe that others share conceptual schemes which are aside their names with them. But usually, and this is the problem actually of every conversation of professor with students, because students are just throwing names, pretending that they already understand these conceptual schemes. They do not understand conceptual schemes. For me, actually, that makes me very depressed. I feel very bad emotions about that. So that's why I stop and we start to speak about conceptual schemes. So basically, we have concepts, ideas. We use names to capture those ideas. And we also have some phenomena, something which just happens. We could not capture that without names. We could not actually even communicate with that without names. But that happens independently from our names and from our concepts, right? Something is just happening. And we want to use names and concepts to capture that, to predict that, to engineer that, or whatever. So when we are trying to change different, when we're playing the game of concepts and names, we call this conceptualization. We are building new logical structures. Maybe we derive it from other logical structures. We create new names, or we find some concepts for old names, whatever. Now, when we are trying to invent ways of measuring different concepts, we are playing operationalization game. For example, there is a concept of student involvement in lecture. This is the concept and the name of that concept. And there are certain logical things which are connected to that involvement. Then, according to our conceptualization, we can make some operationalization of that concept. For example, we just create a questionnaire and give it to our students, and then we'll fill that questionnaire and we will calculate involvement from the questionnaire. That's self-report operationalization, very bad because I do not believe in self-reports. I'm a neuroscientist, by the way. but still, yeah, people lie. But still, this is a way of doing that things. Now, another related structure is this. So when we are observing people in the lab or in the field experiments, we have behavior. So people are going into store or not going into store. We can observe it directly. Or they're clicking different buttons on the side. We can observe that directly. We also could put like some new interfaces or whatever to them and measure things. Again, we could observe that, but using special equipment. This is neurobiological thing. Behavioral thing and neurobiological thing are usually operationalizations of certain concepts, theoretical structures, which are called cognition, or emotion. So we can actually record your smile. This is what we're recording. We can operationalize, we can say that smile is operationalization of positive valence. Positive valence is cognitive concept. There is no positive valence at all in the world. We're just expecting these things to be. But like, are any of these concepts in this room now, right? So yeah, now let's have some demo. We will have some operationalization, and then we will have some conceptualization. On this. So I need a volunteer. I feel that this volunteer is already here. Applause. Huh?
He's not bald.
He's not bald, but he is almost bald. And he will be bald.
But he's a volunteer.
He's
volunteer.
Yeah, of course. Come here.
Explain to him what is to be subjective.
Да. Так, значит, что нам нужно сейчас делать? Нам нужно сейчас сделать вот что. Смотрите, я сейчас найду на ваш нейроинтерфейс, он будет записывать ваши звуковые волны и показывать их на экран. Вы не возражаете? Отлично, все, хорошо. Ну, I just needed to ask that. Так, значит, так. Just a moment. Где у нас тут все? Где у нас тут все? Где у нас тут все? Слышно? Так, окей. Не больно? Если будет слишком сильно жать, то скажите, ладно?
Что там выигрывается?
Да, они проникают в самую суть.
Вот, давайте второй микрофон.
Все. Прекрасно. Да, кстати, микрофон понадобится. Ну, можно его показать. Итак, давайте я по-русски буду говорить, чтобы так было удобно. Можете зубами щелкнуть несколько раз? Нет, не микрофон, можно просто щелкнуть зубами, но несколько раз сильно. Okay. So what we have here is the signal from several electrodes which are connected to the scalp. And of course, when people are blinking with eyes, so we have artifacts like that. When people are clenching their teeth, again, we have special artifacts connected with that. So basically, this is just demonstration that this equipment works. But now it's time to make. It's time for real experiment. Real experiment. So, что я сейчас попрошу вас сделать? Есть такое число 119. Считайте от 119 до 0
по 21. Так.
77, 56, 35, 24, 13, ой, 3.
Отлично. Все?
Да.
Прекрасно. Я вас поздравляю. Математика легко давалась вам? Нелегко давалась. Отлично. Хорошо. Скажите, а какое-нибудь любимое стихотворение можете вспомнить?
Маяковского немножко.
Не сложно. Поехали. Давайте что-нибудь из Маяковского вспомним сейчас, пожалуйста.
Через час отсюда в чистый перевод.
Давайте, у вас хорошо получается, поверьте.
Я просто не могу вспомнить.
Я знаю, я вижу. Не сдавайтесь. Боритесь.
Я понял, да. Давайте лукоморье. Лукоморье дуб зеленый, плутает цепь над убитом. Днем и ночью кот ученый. Все ходит по цепи кругом.
Подсказывайте, вы видите, что происходит.
Идет направо, песни заводит. Налево сказки говорит. Там чудеса, там леший бродит. Русалка на ветвях сидит. Там на неведомых дорожках следы невиданных зверей. Избушка там на курьих ножках. Стоит без окон, без дверей.
Ладно, спасибо вам большое. Аплодисменты. Спасибо за участие в брифинге. Ну, а что еще? Ну, тоже более-менее уже понятно.
Давайте
So, what have you observed during the experiment? Нет, а почему? Вы присоединяетесь? Да. Any observations? Some patterns? Did you notice something? Maybe people in online auditory? Any. So basically, that was the measure of concentration, which is very close to cognitive load. So, could you somehow summarize what you have seen during this exercise? How cognitive load?
Our hero.
Subject. Yeah.
Has problems.
Yeah.
The concentration.
So basically,
Has decreased.
yeah. So basically, when what's your name, by the way? Dmitry. So basically, when Dmitry was successful in the task, and he actually did very good job counting backwards from 121 whatever. So basically, that was one of the best performances in the task I've seen, because I did that many times. His concentration was very high. Well, yeah, that was, I would say, very high, right? And that was concentration were stably high, right? It was always high. But then, when he had some problems with remembering the verses, whatever, concentration was fallen to zero, right? And actually, that's why I actually asked Dmitry to, like, you know, you did good job, try, because actually physically it was seen how you are trying to concentrate, you failed to do that, and then you just like the engine is not starting, right? So that's typical thing, and basically that's how it works. It's not you could not remember some verse or whatever because you do not remember that. You could not do that because you failed to concentrate on that. Just at the moment when you would make yourself concentrate, you would remember everything. And then this is how it actually usually works. So cognitive load is a quite simple concept. That's why it's easy to make this, circus-style demonstrations show connected with cognitive load. We actually, in our lab, we also did that.
There's something wrong with the sound. Ah, sorry.
Yeah. So basically, in our lab, we did several experiments connected directly to cognitive load, but we did that not for the sake of making some new scientific, advancements, but more to just to see how our equipment works. So there is a very famous task which is called Stroop task, when you are demonstrated letters of different colors or words written with different colors, and then every letter, every word is written. Sometimes the word is written in the same color as it says, sometimes in different, so incongruent stimulus. And we actually initially believed that incongruent stimulus will induce higher cognitive load in our subjects. But after we analyzed our data, we understood that actually the direction is the causation is in the other direction, because in fact subjects which was very skillful in this game just managed to induce high cognitive load during these exercises, right? So the reason why you are successful or not in this exercise is because you either manage it or not to make yourself to like feel or to demonstrate high cognitive load. Yeah, cognitive load, да, здрасте, приехали. Что такое, интересно? Спасибо. Это мое. Почему-то. Не, нормально. So cognitive load is very important concept. It's very known from very old times, even before actually EEG and interfaces like that was invented. Yeah, the birth of the concept was in the famous paper by John Sweller. By the way, it was in educational context that was developed to explain things in educational concept. And now cognitive load is the concept, but after several decades after it was introduced, only after that, somebody understood how to measure cognitive load using equipment like that, which is called EEG. That was in this paper by Gavins and Smith, right? So this kind of experiment, when we are like giving subject some stimulus, like passive watch, low load, medium load, and high load. So there are different tasks. Just watching something, simple, cognitively simple task, medium task, and high task, high load task. And then we are measuring different brain waves during these exercises, and we see that, for example, theta brain wave is low during passive watch and high during high load. And on the opposite, alpha is high during passive watch and low during high load. Based on that, we can actually derive a formula how to use these brain waves to calculate your cognitive load. So this is actually operationalization of the concept of cognitive load. How we can use that in neuromarketing? For example, we can show our subjects advertisements or some interfaces, and see how they react to these interfaces, how they react to communication of the business, and so on. And this is actually used, and even more to that, the speed of reaction is also correlated with the cognitive load. So if you have high cognitive load, then the speed of reaction will be low. So basically, we can make neuromarketing experiments even without neuromarketing equipment, just using stopwatch as an equipment, just measuring, but very precisely, speed reaction. There are other designs of experiments, and one of these designs is presented on in that paper, feedback-related negativity in virtual shopping task. The idea here was basically to show the subject some product, then ask him his estimate of the price of that product, then show him our estimate, our price of that product, and then ask him whether this guy would buy or not buy that product. So we actually tried to make, while measuring brain waves during this period when actually the guy is reacting to our price. So actually, we can measure the subjective level of surprise using that kind of equipment. And by doing that, we can actually, we actually can predict his decision to buy or not to buy. And we can, for example, use designs like that to understand optimal level of price for a certain product, for example. We actually reproduced this kind of experiment in our laboratory as well. We use it virtual shopping tasks with T-shirts from global platform selling T-shirts, and actually we built an AI model which records your reaction to the price, and then from brainwaves recorded during that reaction, we can predict with quite high accuracy the decision to buy or not to buy. So basically, I know, in this, I would say that we can predict your decision without asking you, without anything, several dozens of seconds prior to that decision. Yeah. We just exactly. Not maybe not to yourself, but at least to us. But at least to us. Okay. So this research is not connected directly to emotions, but it could show you, well, the different instruments, different tools, and different designs of experiments which neuromarketing could use. Now, a little bit closer to emotions. There are at least two conceptualizations and operationalizations of emotions which are used in neuromarketing. The first one is discrete model of emotions, which says that, well, basically there are discrete emotions like anger, joy, whatever, and these emotions could be expressed in face. We can read that expressions from face, which actually contradicts to what I told you before, because there are different emotions, different societies. And by the way, experiments of Ekman, this is very famous researcher, his experiments are proved to be not correct, but still his influence is very, very high. And actually, he's a very good researcher. He made huge step. Another version of this discrete model of emotion is Plutchik. Again, we have this, some circle of discrete emotions, and this is how this discrete emotions theory is projected into neuromarketing practice. So we demonstrated different versions of advertisement, Japanese and Russian, and we recorded their mimics, and then from that mimics, using standard AI algorithms, we recognized the basic emotion and tried to say what advertisement induces more like disgust emotions or happy emotions or whatever. Now, There is another theory, another conceptualization, circumflex model of effect, offered by Russell, which says that basically there are no discrete emotions. We have two systems in our brain. The first system is, so to speak, responsible for our arousal, and the other is for valence, right? And all the discrete emotions could be presented like points on that 2D space. Again, there is operationalization for this kind of emotions as well. There are special algorithms, very simple algorithms, which could produce these brain waves. And then from these brain waves, we can make maps like that with arousal and valence and see at what state our subject was during like demonstration of advertisement or whatever. But I would say so that emotions is very complex construct. It has something which is connected with facial expression. It has something which is connected with activity of nervous system, central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, words which people are using, cultural effects, influences. So in our lab, we decided to pursue the following way. We are using embeddings, which are at the core of modern large language networks, which are at the core of large language models, right? So what is actually embedding and how LLM is working? Basically, a neural network is just a function which produces some Y's from some X's, right? So you are putting some inputs into that neural network, and then this neural network is producing some output, some prediction, right? This is just a function like f from x, and when we are training neural network, we are just training that, we are just finding shape of that function. Maybe very complex function, but still this is f from x. And to train our network, whatever, I mean, that could be network which is processing images or processing speech and turning it to text, or recognizing patterns in financial markets. That doesn't matter. We have to use numbers. So neural networks could not work with letters unless these letters are coded into numbers. If we will take text and just code this text to numbers, we will basically obtain some nonsensical thing, right? Because it is very important for words that words very often occur in specific contexts. So what is important for us to teach networks to process natural language, we have to create certain representation of words which would count contexts of that words. And actually, that representation was created like 10 or even more years ago, and this representation is called embedding. Basically, embedding encodes text objects as an array of numbers, vector, right, like 700 numbers, so that if we would so it's easier to understand the following way. So every word which we encoded is the coordinates of some point. Every code which we had for every word is some coordinate of some point in multi-dimensional space, like 700 dimensions of that in that space. And the coordinates are such that words which often occur in the same contexts would occur close to each other in this multi-dimensional space, approximately like that. So we see that here we have one cluster of terms which is living entities like eagle, deer, camel, duck, cow, bear, elephant, whatever. And the other cluster is, well, flora, I would say. So here is fauna, here is flora. Now, inside this cluster, we have, for example, alligator and crocodile, which is very close to each other because this is basically the same. We have like chimpanzee, cheetah, and maybe dolphin. because, well, I do not know why, because chimpanzee and cheetah probably are in the prairie, and the chimpanzee and dolphin have big brain, that's why they are close to each other. Ну, подождите, dog, cat, camel, deer, eagle, no, bear, cow. So basically, this is a real representation from real text. So by some reason, these terms are close to each other. And you see that here we have different berries, and which is what this is an example which I like. So cranberry, blueberry, strawberry are berries, and we can actually easily conclude that they actually berries because this is something berry, right? But grape is not grape berry, right? This is just grape. And I would say that biologically, grape is even not a berry, right? But still, grape is usually used in the same context as berries. That's why it is in this cluster, right? So the basic here is that probably that was trained not on biological texts, but just, you know, general meaning texts. So from point of general meaning, cranberry and grape is things which are close to each other. So yeah, so, and this is how actually ChatGPT was trained. So first of all, they took a lot of text, they coded that to embeddings. Every word from that text had an embedding based on how often this word occurred close to other words in the corpus of texts on which that was trained. Then these embeddings were processed with another neural network, which was used just to predict next token. Like we have some beginning of the some line, and then it tries to predict next word in that line. Then to take all the line with this new word, use this as an input, and then tries to predict next word, and so on. Then we take this network and we try to improve it, training with a human operator and teaching that network to answer to a question. In that case, access would be questions generated by the network itself, and whys would be a response of operators. So it's like network is questioning operator, and operator is generating answers. And after that, we are even further training that with user when network is generating answers, and operator or user ranks that answers and say that this answer is better than this answer. Yeah. So all in all, at the end, we have things like that. So the best thing about AI is its ability to, and then we are predicting probabilities for the next word. And we are selecting, for example, predict. And then we take the best thing about AI is its ability to predict what? Something. So every time on every step, we are making this new prediction. What it actually means? It means that we have like some trajectory in this multidimensional space. We start from there. Then we say the best. Then we say the best thing. The best thing about AI, and so on and so forth. And we are building this final thing. So basically, what our what modern LLMs are doing, they are taking like this hidden rules of hidden rules of господи, боже мой, gravitation, what? Hidden gravitation from that space. Sorry. Yeah. Here, it's like we have captured the gravitation, which is hidden in texts. And after we have captured that using neural network, we can actually produce human-like lines, right? So this gravitation is very important thing. But actually, yeah, the rules of that gravitation allows us to produce trajectories which are very human-like. But by the way, this gravitation way of thinking leads to things like that, for example, right? So there is some particular trajectory with which you could answer to the question, and there is no way of answering that the other way. Like, who is Tom Cruise's mother? Tom Cruise's mother is Mary Lee Pfeiffer. Now, who is Mary Lee Pfeiffer's son? I do not have the information about Mary Leap Pfeiffer's son. So because there is only one trajectory with which this thing could go to that point. Now, what it means for us, and why actually I started to speak about LLMs, because previously I was speaking about emotions, how important are emotions for neuromarketing, for decision making, and that emotions is a different complex construct which connects social, biological, whatever. So for me, it means that we have to make proper operationalization of emotions. And this operationalization of emotions should account for different modalities of emotions, of feelings. We know that there is biological modality, and basically there are two modalities. One is connected with central nervous system, the other is peripheral nervous system. There is certain modality connected with the speech, with text which people are producing. There is certain modality connected with mimics, how this mimics, how it is expressed. And when we actually did that in our laboratory, even prior to LLM. So we recorded people, which was, for example, in conflict conversations, in negotiations. We recorded sound, mimics from camera, central nervous system, кожно-гальваническая реакция, skin conduct response, all these things. But then it came to our mind that, well, we have texts, and we know that texts could be coded as embeddings, and embeddings code these trajectories. What if we would add another modalities to words? So basically, for example, we have, I would not demonstrate that realistically in English. I would demonstrate that realistically in Russian. So, for example, we have such response from some customer, like, отлично, мы съездили в вашу гостиницу, обалденно съездили, ну классная гостиница, вообще, просто такая, я хочу вам сказать, я всем буду ее рекомендовать, вообще всем расскажу про нее. So if we would just take that text and like if we would take that voice and process it from using speech-to-text algorithm, we will have text, which just kills all other modalities except for text. And when we would analyze that from textual side of view, we would say that basically this is positive review, right? But of course, we understand that there is such thing as sarcasm, irony, intonation, mimics, language of the body, and even when you are trying to hide your feelings, there are certain internal responses which could be measured in EEG or GSR, skin conduct, galvanic skin response, which actually correlate with internal feelings. And that's why, да чтоб так тебе вообще, ну это просто невозможно вообще, вот он просто и не вышел из него, ну ладно, не важно. Okay, so basically what it means for us? It means for us that we can make multimodal embedding for every word. And this embedding should account the word itself with the context, also neurobiological context in which that word was said, also mimics with which that word was said, also mimics of your counterpart with which you actually made this conversation. And after we would manage, I hope, because we are just in the middle, I would say, of the research. After we would manage to do that, what we can do with that kind of embeddings? Well, first of all, we will have models that can detect and predict multi-layered emotions like sarcasm, irony, and even maybe emotions for which we do not have the word. We would have empathic robots, because what we have now, robots, conversational agents, which interact with humans, they have no internal representation of emotions at all. Why this is a problem? Because actually emotions are important. Feelings are important. The feelings are important in terms of, for example, team play, teamwork, because we are conveying important senses, important ideas using emotions. And we are actually thinking with emotions. So this is old European tradition of dissecting emotions and feelings from cognitive processes. But works of Portuguese neuroscientist Antonio Damasio in the beginning of this century and in the end of the previous century show it, that actually it is impossible to take decisions without emotions. Emotions is a very important part of cognitive processes. That's why when I hear about this thing, because in science it's quite often still met that there are cognitive things and there are emotional things. That's actually not correct, because cognitive and emotional things are very, very intertwined. And one is impossible without the other. So robots do have to have representations of emotions, at least to be able to be efficient conversators with humans, right? So they did not necessarily have to use emotions inside their own decision-making processes, but they have to understand your emotions and they have to behave appropriately, just like we are understanding emotions and we are behaving ourselves appropriately. And basically, more deep understanding of social, cognitive, biological basis of DM. So this is possible outcomes. I think that's it. I'm over 10 minutes. Да?
Yes.
No, I'm not over 10 minutes. I'm even less than. I have spare time. A bit. Okay. Yes. We have some space.
There is some space for questions.
Of course. Давайте. Hit me. Может, микрофон дать? Вот смотри, здесь микрофон есть. So grab the mic.
Don't go away.
In this silver, just speak in that silver thing.
Okay. So I suppose there are also some layers of embedding, as we have a grammatic structure of a sentence, and there are words like cranberry and grape, but also there is, verbs, also adjectives, and so it means that there must be some layers and some layers of emotional some emotions.
Emotional
so
color.
involved.
Yeah, I see. So this is your comment or question?
Yeah, I want you to elaborate on this thing.
Thank you very much. Well, that's actually quite an interesting idea, and I've never thought about that. So for me, that sounds like that. Yeah, of course, large language models, I mean, unimodal large language models, do have capability of not just using word by word, from similar contexts. They also are producing human-like texts, which actually do exhibit certain grammatical structures and so on and so forth. There are no special layers in embeddings, which is just representation of textual objects. No special layers in embeddings for that. No special layers in embeddings which capture these grammatical things. Instead, grammatical things are captured by layers of the network. Because neural network is multi-layer structure, it just predicts the next word, and all these grammatical rules are built in this neural network structure. Now, for me, your question sounds like that. Huh. No, there should be certain layers of the network, and maybe even certain intricacies of architecture, because, for example, in like in computer vision task, we not only have multi-layered network, we have like a complex network of networks which are somehow connected with each other. So maybe to better build networks which are capable of processing these multi-layered embeddings, we have to think about different architectures of neural networks. Что?
Do you mean that each word go through the whole network?
Could you repeat it?
Do you mean that each word, when the network chooses each word, it go through the full processes?
Конечно,
Yeah.
of course. It makes all the, you just think about how much multiplications and summations it has to do to produce just one word. Because, you know, like every layer is on every layer we are making multiplications, right? Of signals to weights and so on. Yeah, exactly like that.
Thank you for your question. Or for your answer.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, I have one.
Да.
Thank you much about your speaking about your presentation. It was real outstanding and really good, beneficial for us. So I have a question about the part of for the process of form prices by emotions, by some experiments. So does this process depend on culture aspects? For instance, in Japan, someone would like to someone would like to buy something by a higher price, but in some countries it's not really available for someone, and that's it.
I try to capture the main idea. I have hard times doing that. Could you please repeat the question? Or
I could say it's more precise way. So you said a few words that some experience that have conducted say that emotions can form a price for some products, but does this products?
Yeah, I see the point. Probably I was not clear enough. So not all neuromarketing experiments are connected directly with what we usually call emotions. They are definitely connected directly with what we usually call internal feelings. For example, surprise. Do you usually call surprise an emotion?
Not really.
Not really. This is actually cultural things, right? So in some cultures, by some reasons, we believe that these things are emotions and these things are not emotions. Even despite the fact that emotions is just English word. It's not even Russian or Japanese or whatever. So it's not universal word, right? So in that experiment, which you've mentioned, which is built around error-related negativity feedback, idea, we do the following thing. This is connected with human mind processes errors, and basically with how human mind works at all. It happens that every brain, human brain including, always producing a lot of different hypotheses on different layers. It always hypothesizes like what I'm going to see on that or that or that part of my visual site, what am I going to, what will be the next moment, what will be the next stimulus, whatever. And then when the stimulus is produced, you have certain pattern of reaction of your brain wave. Raw, let's call it just brain wave for simplicity. So the pattern looks like that. Собственно, что мы будем тут самое сейчас покажем картинку. The pattern looks like that. 4 means 4 seconds, right? So this is averaged across a lot of stimulus. So we have shown 50 t-shirts, right, to our subject. We have shown 50 t-shirts for 70 subjects. We measure it with precision of 1 millisecond, the brain wave, like we've measured 132 times a second, the reaction, right? So like 132 measurements in 1 second. So we measure that with very high precision. And what we see, after stimulus is presented, you still are not like your, higher level brain structures are not processing that stimulus. So this is moment of pure perception. You're percepting that, and then it starts to pick up, which means that you actually, it like goes, the stimulus goes into your consciousness, so to speak, right? And when you are surprised, right? The response is much higher. Surprise means that your hypothesis is not met. Your expectation is not met. You're more surprised when you are seeing what you expected, what you had expected. So yeah, and that's why you see this kind of pattern. So when the good is not bought at the end, this arm, this leg is more lengthier, and if they're going to buy that, it's shorter, right? Mm-hmm. So we can say we can look at that as at an operationalization of surprise. That's not an official operationalization of stabilized concept called surprise. It's conceptualized the other way. It's called feedback-related negativity, FRN. Well, but basically, for the sake of our non-formal discussion, we can call that surprise, right? So, and this is actually my point. Many things which are usually connected with emotions or somehow related to emotions, like surprise, for example, which is emotion or not emotion, it's very hard to say, right? And if this is not emotion, then why actually? Why surprise is emotion? Or disgust, why joy is emotion or disgust is emotion, and surprise is not emotion. And by the way, if we will look at, if we will look at, вот сюда вот. Surprise. We have surprise, which is emotion when we look at your mimics, but somehow is not emotion when we look at your internal feelings. That's very strange. That's what I especially dislike about all these things. Mm-hmm. So I would say that these internal feelings are very important and for decision making. And what you say is that, well, how can we predict uniquely for people of different cultures their reaction to certain stimulus just based on their neural response? Because actually they are from different cultures. That's actually a very interesting question, because it takes, like, we have to take 100 Japanese people and 100 Russian or whatever, Indian, do not know, and to see whether there are cultural differences in FRN. That's interesting. I would say my hypothesis is that not. Mm-hmm. Because biological thing is always a biological thing. It's like your hardware. It's just in. But how you understand that, how you sense make from that, names with which you are calling that internal feelings, this is what goes from external culture. But again, I can actually even make an argument against myself at this point. I would say that, well, when you are put into society and society says that you have to use that names and whatever for different feelings, and you have to feel that and do not feel that, probably your hardware, because your hardware is basically a neural network, your neural network would learn some adaptation, which is actually produced from culture. That's an interesting thing. That's actually an idea for research, really.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So I also have a question.
So as we know,
Is a combination of physical sensation and social estimation. How can robots be trained to be empathetic without physical sensations?
Easy. So, for example, as we know, vision is when we have, in Russian we call it хрусталик, right? So there is a certain
Pupil of your eye. Pupil of your eye.
Не хрусталик, это
Зрачок.
зрачок.
Хрусталик. Just a second, we'll find them. Right. A couple of questions from a curious young gentleman called Victor Bolgarev, who asked, just a sec. So one question was about that, the question was, how does neuromarketing complement or negate the work of an advertising agency which designs visuals for the brand by a creative team based on the business brief, which exemplifies the brand values?
Very good question. So basically, it augments the work of the vertical agency. So the example which would show how it works actually is as follows. And this is actually a real life example. So some agency created some advertisement for a bank. And the bank advertised the mortgage rate which they had. Like, we lowered our mortgage rate, now it is 6%. And the essence of the message was, which they wanted to convey to the customers, was that the rate is 6%. So what they did? They actually took a photo model, pretty girl, put this photo model in business suit, then big letter, big number, 6%, and they made an ad with this photo model, business suit, and the 6%. Then they showed that to their auditory, and maybe they even made, focus group. And the results of focus group was inconclusive. Well, actually, in focus group, everyone reported that they remember the letter, the number 6. But in interviews, many of them didn't. Many others, which interviews was held, they didn't remember what was the number. So then they had used eye trackers, which is again the neuroscientific neuromarketing equipment, which is used to study how your visual attention is organized, how visual attention works. So basically, it just shows you where you are looking at, where you're looking at your visual side, and how vision process is organized. So the visual perception is organized. So what we actually see from the results of that research is that people, males and females, similarly, they just do not look into numbers. They look into other females. And this is actually how it works. So male are looking at females with certain biological reasons, female again with biological reasons, which
Which apply to them. Men are looking at women, which apply to them.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah, that's very important. This is actually, yeah, that's no. It's very interesting to read, by the way, works of Dr. Sapolsky, which which explains a lot of things about humans by showing how society of monkeys work. So basically, yeah, it doesn't work. Just because they did that's normal business practice. You have to take a photo model, put it in the business suit, and so on. So they did another thing. They put a male photo model, pretty guy, in the business suit, 6%. It works. Nobody looks at pretty guy, although even if he is very pretty.
What are they looking at? At the
6%, yeah, at the message of the conversation. So this is actually how it works. So you are creating some
sex subject.
Sex subject.
Or six subject.
6 is what the rate for mortgage program.
Yes.
So they look at 6. No, that's sex. They look at 6.
Sex is
yeah. They look at this 6 letter. So the 6 number.
Digits.
6 digits, right?
Oh, 6 digits. Right.
So basically, yeah, this is how it works. So creative team developed advertisement according to the brief, and then they can test efficiency of the advertisement using neuroscientific neuromarketing. And that's it.
Okay, so this same gentleman now take the liberty to read. He has many other questions, but one is a comment rather than a question, saying that neuromarketing price measurements is not high precision for the brands in the upper and premium market segment. What is it about this?
Because this is just just a statement without kind of reasoning.
Just probably a comment. Do you agree or disagree? Would you support?
I would agree with this thing only if somebody would say to me that subjects from higher segment of the market biologically are different from subjects from lower sector of the market. Like, maybe they are lizards, we're humans, and they have different biology.
Okay.
That's why we could not use the standard equipment to study that. Yeah, I think it's a joke, of course. I think I do not see why actually that might work. The only reason might be this. Neuromarketing is experimental thing. Experimental thing means that you are taking people, put it in the lab, demonstrate something to them, and then you try to make projection, like all other people outside of the lab would feel the same thing and behave the same way. Now we are developing some high-end product for very rich. If we want to make real experiment, then we have to make 70 billionaires. We will have to find 70 billionaires, yes. Put them to our lab, and then to see how billionaires are reacting to.
So the full Dennett model for the.
Yeah, so biology is the same, but there is something more to biology. There is something more than biology here, right? Biology is the same, but the insides of the brain are different. So basically, that might be the reason why the reaction would be different. So things which are important for billionaires are not the same as things which are important for non-billionaires, right? And that's why in science it's called external validity. Validity. So yeah. In that sense, yes.
Thank you very much, Alexander. There are no more questions, then I may ask one. Probably you will not even answer this, but think about it, because I listen to you and I ask myself, if I behave the same when I decide about buying or not buying something, right? And I know after observing myself long enough, since I'm a grown-up girl, right, just to notice that I make a decision much earlier than I really make this decision, because immediately I start an inner dialogue. It's a paradox. I start an inner dialogue with myself, trying to convince myself against this decision. Right. And I cannot. What is the inner structure which is responsible for making these instant decisions, which with my consciousness, I cannot combat, you know? It's not about buying. It's about going, whether I'm going today to my country house tonight or not. And I know deep in my heart that I'm going, I do. But, and I'm, you know, but on the, if you look at me, I'm when you spend time without procrastinate, and become later, I know that I will go, but I'm trying myself to convince that I know. And with the buying and selling, the same thing. What in the structure is responsible for that?
Well, this is a very interesting thing, biology of procrastination.
Not necessarily, not only with time, with buying the same. When I just, not so long ago, bought this jacket, it was the same.
So the postponing of an action, but postponing of an action for which you already have taken decision, so to speak. Yeah, I do not know the exact answer. I would say that if I would search in the literature, probably there might be a lot of literature about that. Again, that actually makes a very good research question, which with even with interesting conceptualization of personalization work. So, because this thing with T-shirts was the part of a bigger research, which is made by one of my students. And initially, she came to me with a request for researching impulse buying.
Impulse buying, yes.
Which is not the same thing as procrastination. But again, this is believed, to be some kind of deviation from, so to speak, normal behavior.
Yes, I know from the very beginning. I will or not will buy this item.
Well, basically, procrastination, internal structure could be like that. Your brain, still, we have to look into literature because I never read about that. But I expect to see, at least in part of literature, things like that. Brain is economizing all decisions. You are postponing the decisions because actually you haven't taken it. And you want to, this is laziness. And laziness is good. You're just economizing your resources. That's normal. You're not ill. It's good.
Okay, on that note, we are only going to have to well, thank you. Let us thank Professor Budenka for this very extraordinary and very good lecture. And he was, he was so kind and generous to spend 2 hours of his precious time on a weekend. Can you imagine? He is very much on demand elsewhere. Yes, search internet. You will be convinced of this. So I know we can even with sacrifice, some students, for example, prepared some, presentations or some small, results of their, it's not research and reading or whatever. Yes, but we decided to not to give them this opportunity and rather listen to Alexander, which was good. And all those who prepared, we will do something else with it. We will make use of it. Don't worry. Thank you very much. And this is the end of this session. Don't stay with us. Very soon, we'll start in half an hour. No, in
3 p.m.
At 3 p.m. You have a lunch break. You have an opportunity for a lunch break, right? And it's a shame you are not here with us because we have a lot of snacks from our partners, the real company. Lisa, can you demonstrate it? Yes?
Вот.
Сюда принеси. Принеси.
Возьми снег.
And you too.
Да. Позитивное подкрепление.
You too. Thank you very much. It's level here again. Take the right link to the next session, which is called